Romans chapter 12. Romans chapter 12. Beginning with verse 9. Notice these words. Let love be without hypocrisy. Abhor what is evil. Cling to what is good. Be kindly affectionate to one another with brotherly love, in honor, giving preference to one another. Not lagging in diligence, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord. Rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, continuing steadfastly in prayer. And I want to read that same passage in the Message Bible. It puts it this way. Love from the center of who you are. Don't fake it. Run for dear life from evil. Hold on for dear life to good. Be good friends who love deeply. Practice playing second fiddle. Don't burn out. Keep yourselves fueled and aflame. Be alert, servants of the Master. Cheerfully expectant. Don't quit in hard times. Pray all the harder. And I'm talking today from the subject simply, the way to be. The way to be. The way to be. I want you to notice I'm concentrating more specifically on verse 12 here in this passage. Rejoicing in hope. Say rejoicing. Rejoicing, notice what it sounds like. Rejoicing. Rejoicing is about releasing joy all over again. It's about releasing joy all over again. Whatever gives you joy, you have the capacity to rejoice about. Don't just get married and then have joy on the wedding day. You need to be able to rejoice in the marriage. Are you listening? You don't want to just have it as a one-time thing. Actually, the word rejoice comes from an Anglo-French word which means to welcome. To welcome. You know, we had one lady who's around early 50s, and she's never been married. And she was just waiting on Prince Charming, you know, to be there so she could get married. And she stopped, you know, she got tired of coming home to an empty house. So she said she bought her a dog because she wanted something to be glad to see her come home. So she had to buy her a dog just to be able to rejoice. Her dog would just come and start panting, wagging his tail. And so she wanted something to rejoice when she came home. She didn't have a man to do it. She bought a dog. That's a word to the wise. Get a bird sometime. You want somebody, something to see, you know, to rejoice whenever they see you. And so it comes from this Anglo-French word that actually means to welcome or to enjoy. If you don't welcome something, it means you don't enjoy it. If you don't, you know, I mean, if somebody calls you and tell you that they're going to be in town, they're going to come by your house, it's like, oh, Lord. Then that means it's not a cause for rejoicing. It's not a cause for rejoicing, but you have to, when you have this rejoicing thing, it means that something has given you joy before and you want to go back to that experience and rejoice. You see, God can't hand you something new until you're willing to let go of the things that are not good for you. You have to let go of what's not good for you in order for God to bring something great into your life. But when you rejoice, you welcome something or someone back into your life that you can enjoy. You welcome something that you can enjoy. And so when the word of the Lord here is saying to us, rejoicing in hope, rejoicing in hope. The good news of the gospel is that you don't have to wait until things have worked out in your life in order to rejoice. You can rejoice now, but I mean, while you still have issues. Life will pass you by if you're waiting for everything to get perfect in your life before you start rejoicing. You might not have the ideal person in your life. You may not have the ideal job or the ideal car or the ideal house. But listen, just realize that you don't have to wait until things have worked out in your life in order for you to rejoice. You can simply rejoice in the hope of things turning around in your favor. Notice what it says when I'm talking about the way to be, rejoicing in hope. Rejoicing. I want to be around rejoicing people. I'm allergic to negative people who are always griping and complaining and mealy-mouthing and belly aching. Always got some issues and drama going on in their life. I just start itching when I get around complaining people. Complaining nails you to your problems. I want somebody to have a bubbly, effervescent personality. I didn't just choose my wife because she had pretty eyes and was fine and, and all of this. It was the spirit that effervesced out of her that still makes me glad to come home. I refused to be with somebody that was going to be a sourpuss. That was another girl that liked me, but she was a sourpuss. She was too sophisticated for me. I wanted to be with a girl I was going to have fun with. I want somebody that's going to celebrate me. You can take your sophisticated self and go somewhere else and be with somebody else who's going to be stuck up. I wanted a girl that knew how to dance in the rain and, celebrate me. Let's just have a party. And so I wanted somebody that had an attitude of knowing how to rejoice in hope. I'm talking about the way to be. The way to be. You're looking at a man right now who has never been depressed a day in his life. I don't know what depression feels like. I really don't. I'm so grateful to God. Every day I wake up, I said, this is the day that the Lord has made, and in it I shall rejoice and be exceedingly glad. I've had marvelous opportunities to be depressed. But every time they come, I just turn it down. Said, no, thank you. I want to be able to rejoice in hope. I want to rejoice in hope. And you can simply learn how to rejoice in the hope of things turning around in your favor. Hope is expectation of favorable change. It is expectation of favorable change. That's all hope is. Expectation of favorable change. There's nothing wrong with you expecting something to get better. And here's the great thing about expectancy. Expectancy causes preparation. You don't get what you want in life, you get what you prepare for. So I got ready to go before I ever got an invitation to go to Fiji, before I ever got an invitation to Australia, before I ever got an invitation to go to South Africa, before I ever got an invitation to go to Mexico, before I ever got an invitation to go to all of these countries that I have been to around the world. It's amazing. But I got ready. I got ready before the opportunity came. You get ready and the opportunity will come. Get ready and then the opportunity will come. But I had hope, which was expectation of favorable change. Favorable change. I was with the president of the guy down at the Atlanta Union mission, and he said these words to me. He said, people will not choose to be helped if they feel they have no hope. People will not choose to be helped if they feel they have no hope. It's very interesting. Here's one way that hope is defined. Hope is defined is to look forward with confidence or expectation. To look forward. Forward. Somebody say forward. Forward with confidence or expectation. Stop stumbling over stuff that's already behind you. Look ahead. Look ahead. Look ahead. Listen, you've already made history today because you have survived the stuff that was meant to kill you. You've already made history. Here's another definition of hope that I like. Is the desire and search for a future good, difficult but not impossible to attain with God's help. The desire and search for a future good, difficult but not impossible to attain with God's help. Please understand that hope, if you want to just simplify it, I'm a simple guy. I like to make things simple. Hope is just the idea that something can change for you. That's all it is. Hope is simply the idea that something can change for you. You don't have to be stuck with life the way it is. Something can change for you. And there's some people who can have hope, and it's interesting that you can have hope and yet still have moments of doubt. Can I be real with you? I don't want to give you false expectations. So I'm going to tell you that even when you have great dreams and great aspiration, and that you even see confident people, or folks that come off as confident, even confident people have moments of doubt. I don't want you to think that something's wrong with you when you're trying to walk in faith and then doubt comes to you. Paul Tillich said this great church theologian said, doubt is not the opposite of faith. It is an element of faith. Doubt is not the opposite of faith. It is an element of faith. Here's what I mean by that statement. This is the way that I would interpret it for me. You know how the Bible talks about in Mark chapter 11 that whosoever shall say unto this mountain, be thou removed and be thou cast into the sea, and shall not doubt in his heart. shall not doubt in his heart. You can get God to work for you with doubt in your head and faith in your heart. Whenever you have real faith, faith is an element of the heart. Doubt is what the head does. And the head is only doing what it was designed to do. To look at the empirical data and say, what if? And that's to protect you. It's to protect you from getting off balance in some areas. And it is saying, listen, don't go, we're not going to come up in here and handle snakes. Trying to prove our faith. I mean, there are just certain things, that up here says, no, don't do that. Don't fool with that. Don't play with fire. Yeah, I believe God's going to protect me, but I'm not going to play marbles out in the street. There are certain things that the head is designed, and you can get God to work for you with faith in your heart and doubt in your head. In fact, every time that God speaks to you, something in your heart about what he's going to do in your future, your head is going to doubt it. So don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. That's why doubt is not the opposite of faith. It is an element of faith. Because if you don't ever doubt whether it is possible, it means that the dream is too small. And God will never give you a dream that you are confident that you can handle without his help. So you have to believe God. And may I just remind you of this, is that God is no less with you in your doubts than he is with you in your certainties. He's still with you even when you're doubting stuff. So you can still get him to work with faith in your heart and doubt in your head. And understand that where there is hope, there is life. Isn't it amazing that the highest suicide rate is not among senior citizens? I mean, if I had a degenerative condition, like Alzheimer's or some type of thing, you're just getting progressively worse. And I mean, every day it's going to be getting worse and worse and worse. That's when I would probably be tempted for suicide. But the highest suicide rate is between the ages of 12 and 24, 25 years old. Isn't that amazing? Well, they have all of this life ahead of them, and yet they have the highest suicide rate. You know why? Because they have no hope. Because the younger generation ought to have hope infused into them from the older generation. You ever notice the Bible, Psalm 78, verse 5 through 8? Notice the word of the Lord. For he established a testimony in Jacob and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers, that they should make them known to their children. We have a responsibility to make God's law known to our children, that the generation to come might know them, the children who would be born, that they may arise and declare them to their children. Why? That they may set their hope in God. Their hope in God, that they may set their hope in God and not forget the works of God, but keep his commandments, and may not be like their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation that did not set its heart aright, and whose spirit was not faithful to God. He says, so listen, we have to be able to infuse a hope in God in the younger generation. You have to hope thou in God. Hope thou in God. Hope thou in God. When David was going through some stuff, when he was discouraged in Psalm 42:5, he had to ask the question, why are you cast down, O my soul, and why are you disquieted within me? Hope in God, for I shall yet praise him for the help of his countenance. Hope in God. Hope in God. Touch your neighbor, say, hope in God. Angela Thomas said that when we put our hope in God, he's able to change our weakness for his power. He's able to change our weakness for his power. Never give up hope, because situations can change overnight and problems can dissolve in the light of a new day's sun. And just remember that hope is a goal setter for faith. If there is no hope, faith is unemployed. And so if you're single and desire to be married, you can rejoice in the hope that God is going to prepare the mate for you, and that he's preparing you for your mate. Sometimes you're trying to, some folks will be believing God to get married, and they're waiting on the mate, and they're not even ready to be a mate themselves. And while you're waiting on the mate, really the mate might be waiting on you. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. And if you keep on attracting thugs and dogs and stuff, listen, it's time for a mirror inspection. It means that there's something, I'm just telling you, because what will draw to you is some of the most base stuff that is on the inside of you is what you'll start drawing into your life. And so it becomes a reflection of some of our base desires that we've got to sanctify by getting in touch with God. That's why hope thou in God, have an expectation of a favorable turnaround of situation in your life. It's a wonderful thing. When we rejoice in hope, realize that hope is not a strategy. Hope is not a strategy. Hope is a thing that inspires us. It's a fuel that really inspires you. But hope is not a strategy. Well, I hope I get a job. No. Hope is not a strategy. You don't want somebody marrying your child and then talking about, I hope that things were going to work out. No. Hope is not a strategy. Hope is not a strategy. Then the Bible here talks about, because we're talking about the way to be, rejoicing in hope. Rejoicing in hope. Be with hopeful people. People that believe in you, that believe in your dream, that believe in the possibility of what can be. That believe that even though things may not be ideal right now, that things can change in your favor. You know, rejoicing in hope. And then here's the second thing, be patient in tribulation. Tribulation is suffering in difficult circumstances. You all don't know anything about that. But you know one of the things that tribulation does? Tribulation gives us time to reflect. Tribulation gives us time to reflect. And reflection helps us to see what we need to change. Reflection helps us to see what we need to change. The unexamined life, Socrates said, is not worth living. Reflection helps us to see what we need to change. Don't just live life forward. You have to pause and spend some time in reflection about what God has done. Where am I? What do I have? What do I lack? What do I need to change? What needs to stay here? What do I need to continue? What do I need to add to myself? Be patient in tribulation. Be patient while you're in that tribulation. The archaic definition of a patient, it means one who suffers. You know, in the hospital as a patient, one who suffers. When they come and do this test and that test, one who suffers. One who suffers. Here's one definition of patient. It says bearing or enduring pain, difficulty, provocation, or annoyance with calmness. Patience. Patient. And here's another definition that I like. Patience. The capacity to accept or tolerate delay, trouble, or suffering without, did I say without? Without getting angry or upset. Touch your neighbor, say, I know somebody who needs that. The capacity to accept or tolerate delay, trouble, or suffering without getting angry or upset. Paul said it in Romans chapter 5 verse 3, we also glory in tribulations, knowing that tribulation produces perseverance or patience. And you can only truly be patient by the grace of God and by having a higher understanding of the things that truly matter. That's why I believe in employing wisdom. Wisdom is simply knowing what to ignore. Knowing what to ignore. Don't react to everything. You got to know what to ignore. You can save your marriages if you learn how to know what to ignore. You got to ignore some crazy stuff that comes out of some folks' mouths. Don't respond to everything that comes out of their mouth. Hold your peace. You hold your peace, you'll keep your peace. Benjamin Disraeli said that little things affect little minds. Little things affect little minds. That's a mouthful. You got to know what to ignore. Don't respond to every little thing that comes your way. You know, I put some statements every day on Twitter or on Facebook on my account. Some ignoramuses have the unmitigated gall to disagree with the bishop. They have a right to be wrong, but you know, I don't have time to respond to that. I'm not going to respond to that. I don't have time to. Little minds are affected by little things. You think I'm going to cry and start sucking my thumb and get in a fetal position because you said you didn't like something I said? Get over it. I'll probably be laughing on my way out of the door. It's just knowing what to ignore. I'm just telling you how to be patient in tribulation. How to be patient. Have you ever noticed in 1 Corinthians 13, love is patient and kind? Patient and kind. The real evidence of your being patient is that you're kind. If you become mean, short-tempered, or nasty while you're waiting, it means that you are not patient in tribulation. I'm just talking about the way to be, that's all. Don't get angry with God when things don't happen when you want them to. Patience with God is called faith. When you really have faith, it is patience with God. I've got faith that it's going to happen. It's going to work out. Patience with God is called faith. Patience with men is called love. You're manifesting love when you're patient with people. When a husband is patient with his wife and not killing her, he is manifestation of patience. When a wife is patient with her husband and she doesn't boil grits to scald him, that's called love. It's called love. Patience with men is called love. But then patience with self is called hope. Touch yourself, say, there's hope for me yet. There is hope for me yet. Don't give up on yourself. There's hope for you. There is hope for you. There is hope for you. And did you know that God generally answers us by giving us either a no? He'll give you a no. You know what the no means? It means it's off. Cancel the plans. Don't do that. When he gives you the no, that's a red light. No is a red light. Don't do that. And sometimes God will answer you and say, no way, Jose. No, she's not for you. No, he's not for you. No. He'll just give you a red light. I know you want no. He'll just give you a red light. No. You cancel it. The wedding is off. He'll just give you a red light. The other times, he'll say to you, slow. Slow is a yellow light. That often means not yet. It means proceed with caution. With caution is a key word. See, if you pull a fruit that's going to be sweet, but is not ripe yet, God will say, slow. No, don't pick that one yet. Because if you get it now, it's going to lock your jaws. Don't fool with that one just yet. Let it hang in there because it's got the sweeten on you. Touch your neighbor, say, I dated that one. Then the third way that God answers is that he'll give you a green light. And that means that's a clearance. Go ahead. And let me just remind you of this. You can't put God on a timetable of when to answer you. Because God reveals his answers in three ways. Number one, he reveals it instantly. Instantly. That's miraculous and spectacular. It's a great display of God's incredible power when God just bam, you just pray and bam. Some prayers that you pray and God will, he'll answer before you can get it out of your mouth good. But not with everything. There's some other time that he'll answer, and the answer comes in due season. When it says that it's in due season, it means that you're not going to get it today. He says, write the vision, for the vision is for an appointed time. That means there's a due season. It's sort of like a word of pregnancy. When you got something in you, you got the seed of it in you, it's growing in you, it's germinating in you, but it's not yet. It has a due date. It has a due date. It has a due date. And then the third way that God answers is during a process. During a process. And this happens progressively over time. There's sometimes that you'll have an issue going on in your body, and God will heal you, and you won't know when he heals you. All you'll know is that progressively it was getting better and better, and all of a sudden one day you can get up and move and it doesn't cause you any pain. And it wasn't instantaneous. It didn't just happen at an appointed time. It happened progressively. And you almost didn't notice it. Sometimes people get delivered and they say, you know what, it's been 3 weeks and I haven't had a cigarette. You know, the kind that you roll yourself. See, your laughter is giving you away. May I just remind you that when God answers your prayer, that he is strengthening your faith, and when he doesn't answer, he's building your patience. He's either strengthening your faith or he's building your patience. So when God answers your prayer, he's strengthening your faith. When he doesn't answer, he's building your patience. And this is why the Bible, the third thing that I wanted you to get, is not only rejoicing in hope, and not only patient in tribulation, but continuing steadfastly in prayer. That is, be constant in prayer. This is the way to be. Be constant in prayer. Luke chapter 18 verse 1 says, and he spake a parable unto them to this end, that men ought always to pray and not to faint. And of course you know that means mankind. That's women too. Always to pray, always. If the devil can convince you that your prayers are in vain, he can stop you from praying. If he makes you believe that your prayer is not making a difference, you'll stop praying. Can I give a word of wisdom to you? Don't let life affect your worship. Let your worship affect life. Don't let life affect your worship. Let your worship affect life. Here's something that I found interesting that Andy Griffith said. He said, I firmly believe that in every situation, no matter how difficult, that God extends grace greater than the hardship, and strength and peace of mind that can lead us to a place higher than where we were before. It's interesting. When God wants to get you out of the place where you are and into the place where you need to be, he often uses divine disturbances. And a divine disturbance is any way that God shakes us out of our selfish complacency and into the lives of others. You can't do much when you're consumed in thinking about yourself. Real fulfillment never comes by what you do for yourself. It only comes by what you do for others. And when God wants to rock your world and change your life, you've got to give your life into the lives of others. Jesus didn't come to be served, he came to serve. And we have to do the same thing. We are servants of the Most High God. And I just want you to realize, he said, rejoicing in hope, the way to be, rejoice in hope. Rejoice in hope is the way to be. He wanted you to be in a place where you can be patient in tribulation. Patient. It's the way to be. And then constant in prayer. It's the way to be. Never give up praying. I cannot tell you what the prayers of a mother can do for her child. Things happen when we pray. And my God, when men pray, oh my God, something really begins to happen. The whole atmosphere of your house will shift when a man begins to pray. Just the way to be. Don't be down. Don't be depressed. Always be rejoicing in hope. You may not have everything you want, but want everything you got. Celebrate where you are, what God has done for you. Rejoicing in hope. Rejoicing in hope. Not complacent, but rejoicing in hope that I've got expectation of favorable change happening in my life. And that I am going to be patient in tribulation. That while I'm in a delay, while I'm in trouble, that I am going to remain calm. I'm going to keep myself under control. I'm not going to lose my joy over the trouble that is in my life. I'm going to rejoice. I'm going to be patient, calm, copacetic, cool, controlled in this position of tribulation where I am. Knowing that tribulation works patience. That's why older folks are some of the most patient people in the world, and they've got less time than any of us. And yet they're patient. They get ready a whole lot of time early before it's time to go. You don't find them rushing in rush hour traffic. If they're going on a trip, they'll pack a week in advance. Patient in tribulation. Patient, patient. They get ready and they'll have their little thing and be sitting at the door waiting on you to get ready. Patient, patient, and constant in prayer.
Thank you for watching Power for Living.